thanks for stopping by. In today's video, we're going to try a couple things. One, we might have some knitting, but we'll see how far we get. But today, as you can tell by the thumbnail, I'm going to attempt to make a, not a yarn ball, but a yarn container. You'll see here in the image that I'm going to show you there is a container that I found on Joann's Fabrics. I was placing an order for some more polyfill, a couple paintbrushes, some more blocking mats, and I thought, why not just look at the rest of the knitting supplies that they have. It's been a while since I perused that section, and maybe I'd see something that really caught my eye. And then I saw something that looked like a water bottle to hold my yarn, and I'm like, that's a good idea. I don't need to buy this thing, but I can probably make my own. And what I have here today is a container. This is actually, I was using my, if you saw my pom-pom tutorial video that I have up here, I used this to hold the scraps of the pom-pom that I was cutting up, and I just kind of have it as a container in here. It's from some takeaway or to go, depending on where you go, where you live, what you call it. But we had ordered pho to go. This is not the pho that I wanted. We didn't get that yet this week, and we got a different cheat meal, but maybe next week. And so we have these containers that they usually put the broth in here and the noodles in another container, and when you bring it home you put them all together. Long story short, I have a few of these. I have one in my bathroom that I use to rinse myself off when I'm in the shower. I have this one that I have in here, and then I have another one down in my kitchen as just another container to store leftover food in. And I found a lid, so I don't know where the lid went originally to this. This might be the one, but as you can see, it fits snugly, well, as snug as it can on the top, and I want to make the same kind of contraption to hold that pesky ball of yarn that I have in here right now with my knitting. So instead of having a project bag where it's not, I mean, it's durable, but it's not like sturdy, and I'm hoping that this container will serve that purpose. So here we're gonna go. I have my hole punch that I'm hoping will be strong enough to do a center punch here, and then I have my X-Acto, or my box cutter, to slice the hole, or not the hole, but slice the guide so that I can run my yarn through the middle. So because my hole punch is not long enough to fit over the lid, I'm gonna cut the guide first and then run this through once I get there. So of course I left my cutting board away, so I'm gonna use the back of my graph paper, which has been used before as a cutting back, and I'm going to take my X-Acto and, as safely as I can, slice through to the middle part where I want the hole punch to be, and I'm pressing firmly and pulling away from myself. That was easy enough. So now you could see that I have this slit right here. So I'm going to take my hole punch and feed that through. Easy enough, right? Hopefully. And put a hole in the middle. Let's see. Hold it up for you guys. So now we have this hole in the middle. You can see that? And now when I put the lid on, it should... Alright, so it's, because I've weakened it a little bit, it's not quite as snug as it used to be, but it's still pretty much intact. And all I need to do is make sure that my yarn can come through. So let's try this. Alright, so we have our cardigan that we're working on from Wool and the Gang, and we just have a little teeny bit of yarn left, but it's still kind of floppy, flopping around, so put that in. Right, and then we'll feed the okay, so now the yarn should come out of the container like so. Okay, it gets a little stuck, but that's just because it's all kind of bunched up. But at least I have like my guide now, and because this is a relatively small container, I wouldn't, you know, be able to have anything more than maybe bulky weight in here if the ball is small enough, or if it's like one of those tubey kind of balls, like one of these guys, where it would fit inside and then it just like spin around in there. So hopefully this means that going forward, when I work on this project next with you guys, I can store the new ball of yarn in here, which I do have somewhere. I do definitely have a new ball of yarn. Okay, so easy enough. Very good. Alright, so the next project that I want to work on today with you guys is getting ready, we'll see, to make a pattern. Now, I want to make sure I have all of the things I need with me right now, and that would be I'm no math person, but I have my calculator and I have my pen, right? Perhaps, maybe not. I had a pen. I was hoping I had a pen. I might need to find my pen, but I needed a pen because if you guys remember me working on the Magic Blanket, or Magic Number Blanket by Helen Cosgrove Davies. This is a free pattern on Ravelry. It'll be below, so if you do care to use it, it's a baby blanket size, so it's 22 inches square. Now, I think this is going to be the one that I'll do for my pen pal slash former fourth grade teacher. I'm no longer in the fourth grade. Well beyond the fourth grade, though if you see my math skills, you might question that. But I've been on the fence on what kind of blanket pattern I wanted to make for her. And I saw so many different free patterns and they all looked very cool, but you know, I'd see another pattern and I'd want to do that instead. And I think I finally decided to narrow down to this Magic Number Blanket because one, I've knit it before. It's not the Metal Lane blanket that I knit. That's the purple and gray color block that I did for my partner's mom and dad for Christmas in the 2019 year. And this I've only knit once. Now, if you've watched a lot of my other videos and you've watched them all the way to the end, bless your heart if you did. I know they're long, but I mentioned in one of my videos, and I can't even remember which one it is, that I try to do patterns twice if I can, just to kind of get the hang of it. If I really like it and I really want to grow with that pattern, didn't quite feel it the first time around, I'll usually take a chance and knit it a second time. And this Magic Number Blanket I've only knit once, but it was so easy. I loved knitting this one, and it's knit on the bias, so you keep increasing, and then when you get to the widest point, you start to decrease. And that seems, okay, knowing me, if you know Paws and Pearls, you know it's a struggle bus almost every episode when I'm working on these things, but I'm like, well, you know, I'm not the best at math, but if all I know is how many stitches I need out to my widest point, and if I want to keep it a square, which I think is safe enough, how hard would it be just to do the math to see how many times I have to KFB, to my widest stitch based on the measurements of this one. So that was my goal today, to spend the second part of this video is going over this pattern with you. So as I mentioned, it is no, I didn't mention that. It's knit on the bias. It's 3 colors, and I have 3 colors of giant 1-pound yarn that I bought, knowing that was the color scheme I wanted for this blanket ages ago when I decided I wanted to make her a blanket. And if you can see from this image, and of course if you click on the Ravelry link, you can see the colors there too. They chose this nice green. I have a picture of it on my Instagram of the finished project, of it just laying over my lap. And the baby who got it does really like it, because he's a happy baby, so I'm glad that he's easy to please. But let's see, so when I knit, so one thing, well, there's a couple things to keep in mind. One is each stitch color that I'm using of the 3, I have to account for how many stitches of that color I want before I switch to the next one. So again, that requires some math. And where the heck is my pen? Oh, I swore I brought everything over here, but of course I didn't. It wouldn't be a me episode if I didn't have my other pen. But okay, we'll just wing it, because I really don't know where I put my pen. Oh, that's so annoying. Okay, well, whatever. We'll just keep going. So we have here, let's see. So row 1, oh no, so first you cast on 3 stitches, and that's just for the corner. So that should still be the same. Gosh darn, okay. I'm gonna get this pen. I can't without my pen. I found a pen. It's not the one I wanted, but that is how life is sometimes. Well, most of the time for me anyway. Alright, so how are we going to do this? Let's try going back from the longest part. I think that might help me figure out how to knit each group. I mean, so this one does say, so it says numbers are given for those who do not wish to weigh their yarn periodically while knitting. To knit the largest possible blanket with your 3 skeins, weigh them and note down the weight of the lightest skein. You will need to know 85% of the weight of the lightest skein and 50% of the weight for the lightest skein. So, math. Not going to do that. I'm going to do the numbers one because it's magic numbers, and I feel like that is going to help me better. So let me grab a piece of paper out of here. I mean, there isn't any chart, but I'm just going to use this graph paper because I have so much of it and I don't really use it that often. I'll just fold it in half. Alright, so let's look at what is our widest part. Alright, so the largest part of the blanket is the middle color because that is where your widest point is going to be. Now, considering that this is a 22-inch square and the widest point is 160 stitches. At that point is when you start to decrease. So once you reach 160 stitches across, that's when the next row, so your row 100 and whatever the heck, well, I don't know what row it is. The row when you have reached, so the next row after that is when you start to decrease back down, so you're 59, 58, 57, 56, 100, 57, 56. So, if it's 22, this would that be per proportions? So, 22 inches is 160 stitches across as your square. Now, how big do I want it to be? So that'll be, N is my, I don't know how many stitches, over 20, well, what's a throw? Like 60, if it's 60 by 60, then it's a 5-foot square. Because I'm 5'5", so I'm 65 inches tall. So a 5'5" square. So we'll do 60. So this is my math. Can you guys see that? Probably not. It's blurry, probably, but I have my 22 over 160 stitches across as my widest, and then I have my 60 inches over N because I don't know how many stitches across that is. So then I do the crossover, so that's 160 times 60 equals 22N, and then my calculator, see if this still works. I haven't used this in a million years. Alright, so 160 times 60 is 9,600. 9,600. And then we have our 22N. And then you divide that by 22. And that'll give me N. Holy cow. Alright, so it's going to be a funky number. But, you know, we can round, So let's say it'll be a little less than 60 inches. No, we can round up. We can do, we can round 2 up. So it'll be a little over 60 inches. So, because right now, N is telling me it's 436.363636364. But if we round up a couple stitches, because I want to keep it an even number since this is an even number of the widest part without it being like 437, we'll just say we need 438 stitches as our widest part. Equals N. N equals 438 stitches, widest point. Does that make sense? We're gonna hope and pray that that makes sense when I do this. And this, by the way, is going to be, this is gonna be my new project. Like, I have a few others that I want to start that will bring me over the edge of how many I want to have juggling right now, but it's all for a good reason, and you'll know soon enough what I mean by that. Alright, so widest point is 438 of color B. Yeah. Q. Alright, so now that we know how far our widest point is, what do we need to do for the rest? Actually, this might be easier than I thought. All I have to do is solve for N for this measurement for each color and how far I knit. Right? Okay. So, okay. I think I got it. We'll see. When this is done, we'll see if I totally bombed this or not. But, alright. So, let's go back to our beginning. So, let's see. We want to knit Alright, so we're gonna repeat row. Okay, so row 1 is with your color A, you do your thing, and then you do your thing, and you do your thing, and then row 4 is you increase, and then row 4 you increase until you have, or you keep doing row 4 until you have 120 stitches. So if you have 22 and 120 stitches, that should give me how many for what? N? Well, not necessarily, because this is going to be about 60. If we round up 2 more stitches, it's going to be a little over 60 inches wide, but it's going to be like 60.2 or whatever. So we'll still say it's 60. I guess. So 60 is N, right? Right. Because we know 22 is the square, and that's 120 stitches of that color. And if 60 is our new square, we need to know how many stitches of color A. So we'll do the same thing, where it's 22 in N, and it's 120 times 60, multiplied, however you call it, 60, and that's 7,200. It's 22 divided by 22. So we got a funky odd number again. So N equals, so right now it's saying that 7,200 divided by 22 is 327.27.27.273. But if we round up again so that we have an even number, if we round it up 1, then that's just the 28. So we could do that. But then we'd want to make sure that we have the same what do you call it? It'll have to be the same amount for, like, the same amount but the opposite of the decrease, so that your stitch count to your widest point is the same for each side, so it's even that way. If that's making sense to you, it's making sense to me. But if we went up 2 stitches, why did we do up to, let me see, 96 divided by 22. Oh, right. Because it was an even number, but it had an odd, I had to round up 2 because of the decimal. Alright, so we'll only round up 1 for this one. Now, it's going to be even on both sides, so it doesn't matter if I go up 2 more stitches, because the portion is what is important. If that's probably not making sense, but it's making sense in my head. So, okay, so yeah, we'll just round up 1. So N will be 328. So where it says with color A, we're going to knit until it's 328 stitches. And then we will do the striping part. The striping is going to be a little different because the color A and B are alternating, and they're only doing like 2 rows each of that color. But because this is a bigger blanket, I want it to be more defined. So I think if it says for begin striping with color B, 120 stitches. With color B, 122. So these are switching each other out. Now, if I have to carry the yarn, it does make sense to do those smaller increments, but I feel like that subtlety isn't going to be there if I only do 2 rows each. Or it's like 3 rows. It's like 1 big block and then 1, 2, 3, I think. Oh no, 5 times. Well, that might be okay. That might be okay. Okay, let's do that. Let's keep it the same because it's going to be so big that with those alternating ones, you do it 5 times. So you have 20, you have 140 total across by the time you get to color A at that widest point. So What's the difference? We're gonna figure it out. So how many stitches across? If 22 is the inch, 140 stitches is all of color A. That is 60 over N again. So we have 8,400 and 22N. Oops. What? Another weird one. So we'll do 382 is how far we want to go with color A before we cut it off. And then we keep increasing with color B until we have 438 stitches. So which is 56 rows. All right, so this is so I just wrote down repeat stripes 1 through 4 until you have 382 stitches, which is where we have the difference between the 140 and the 22-inch blanket size compared to the about 60-inch blanket size the other way. All right, so now that we get there, we have to do the decreases of the other side. So do. So yeah, so if the 140 and the 140 are on the other side, then we just go right back to decreasing until we have the same amount again. So that's that next, going back down to the part where we get before we start switching the colors again. So the 120 is the 328. Okay, so I think I got it. So let me rewrite this the way it should be. So row 1, let's see, with color A, 2, knit 1, KFB, twice, knit 1, row 3, knit 2, KFB twice, knit 2, row 4, knit 3, KFB, knit 2, end, repeat, row 4 until you have, and then the difference is 328 stitches, and then striping. Stripe, row 1 with color B, knit 3, KFB, knit 2, and stripe row 2 with color B, knit 3, KFB, knit 2, and stripe row 3, with color A, knit 3, KFB, knit 2, end, and stripe row 4 with color A, knit 3, KFB, knit 2, and then repeat stripe rows 1, 2, 4, and then instead of saying 5 times, I'll just say until, what's the 140, until 382 times. And then cut color A. Now we could say continue with color B until you have, and then our long one, until you have 438 stitches. And then that's when we start our decreases, which will be the same on the other side. So that's the next row. Knit 3. What? So that's K. Knit 2. End. And repeat this row until you have the next one down, which is 382. Just 382 stitches. And then we can do the striping again until we have to decrease striping with color C and B until color C is $328. Cool. All right. There was a lot of breaks there while I was doing math in my head, but we pretty much have it figured out. We'll find out for sure when we start working on this. But for the most part, I think we have it down. Let me know if you have made a pattern yourself where you had to modify something to fit a size you wanted that wasn't already accounted for in the pattern that you had. Like, you really liked the pattern, but you had to like adjust it to fit your needs. And if you did you do it like I just did, or did you have something a little bit more precise and arithmetic-like to compare to? I would like to know. So let me know in the comments below if this is something you have dabbled in yourself. I think a blanket is pretty easy. It's a pretty simple pattern, so even if I'm not quite right, I think I can fudge it a little bit, as I have with my rounding up to accommodate those odd numbers I had and those odd decimal points and fraction-y things that I was doing. But let me know. I'd love to hear what you've done yourself. And also let me know if you have finagled some homemade knitting utensils or notions or gadgets like this very simple plastic Tupperware type container that I'm using to keep my yarn in for my cardigan project. I'd love to know if you have used some home good solutions for things like this as well. So thank you so much for listening, I guess, to a lot of silence while I figured out how to make this pattern. I'm really excited to work on this very soon, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!